Ah, it's a plague. And yet here we are, helping people with victims of lost people. Good old Dea Niver brings in her lost complaints of having her brother go missing, just shortly after he had gone off to a manor, in hopes that he could go and do what he always dreamed of. Of course, he had to be skillful and probably the most arbitrary thing in the world, because welcome to fantasy, where where he gets to be skillful in the unusual instrument, the ocarina, of course. Needless to say, we spent enough time begging the guards that they came to us and asked us to deal with this problem. Gleefully, because the Greetus is that kind of sucker fish for all the women he sees, we agreeably head towards the manor. Now, the Crayorid Manor, probably one of the prettiest buildings around. The nobles here decided that partying would be their best solution to the plague, because why bother dealing with the real world situation? Making our trip there, we realized there's nothing really to being on the way there. Most of the nobles are locked up and hidden away. Distractively, we take time to search the outside of the manor, finding very little to nothing. Even more excitingly, there's a small little pond outside that has glow in the dark salamanders. Of course, his desire for something pretty overrides his desire for helpfulness, and he begins trying to fish them out, collecting as many as he can in the nearby vase he found. As with the rest of the party heading inside, knocking down the door fairly easily. Inside, we find plenty of dancing corpses, all angled up and going. Zombies that have been infected by the plague, dance and strewn about. Upon entering, they hear the lovely cackling noise as a half deranged elf stands before them, announcing herself as Josephine, as the curator of their new party going on. Zombies begin attacking as the beginning walks in. They relieve their beautiful dances. A sly crossbow bolt flies out, striking Lizard Lips as he turns to see her vanish in front of him. Immediately irked by that, he begins chasing her, throwing himself into his own fit of rage to chase her down. She vanishes in front of him, and he sneaks into the next room, heading straight upstairs. Finding an orchestra being played to people dancing, the foyer with the fireplace has two people dressed in masks, constantly being stripped and sniped and shot, chasing her throughout the manor. Shortly thereafter, finally catching her and cornering her, where she slyly sneaks around, leaving lots and lots of zombies behind as corpses. When they finally catch her up, we begin to interrogate her. Well, at least they try to. Failing on their attempts, the Greetus arrives on his own time, bearing glyphs of glowing salamanders. And believe me, the confusion of why he took his sweet time getting there. Seeing the lovely elf, he offers her an interesting proposal, as she's not much more sane than he is in and of itself. He offers her a good time to torture and bully whatever she wants, as long as she listens to his command. Her true value in her master that trained her is slowly winning out to the Greetus's sly eye. Of course, the side eye looking at him, we demand where she even knows of her master's location. In which, of course, the poor child doesn't know nothing. claiming over and over again she doesn't know. All she knows here is she was told by whoever employed her master to kill the manor and disguise it as if they had died to the plague. Needless to say, she is like a mundo masochist. Like, ridiculous. So, to ensure that we don't have to worry about her escaping, the barbarian punches her unconscious. Just, oh, and she was out for it. Exploring a bit, we find our way into the cellar, in which there was plenty of wine caskets everywhere. The greatest, of course, enjoys himself some wine straight from the barrel. Good shit, good shit. Fills up some canteens and bottling, and lays claim to his new little manor. Finding at the far end of it, turns out there was one last living body, locked in what appears to be a small chamber. Knocking on the door, we receive a small scream and sounds of stuff cluttering itself. Thankfully, we have at least enough skill to unlock the door. And upon opening the door, we find the last of the local residents, the only surviving member, Ozio Heroin. Of course, the greed sighs in anger because he realizes there was a survivor who will now own this property. Disappointed in that more than anything else. Ozio is in the offensive, wielding his brandished weapon, a dull painter knife. Needless to say, very quickly, he was turned from, oh no, I'm gonna die, to, oh thank you, I'm gonna be saved. Sadly, ill in anything else. He tells the tale of what happens with the elf. Arriving to this party, everyone celebrating, until the sudden announcement of the elf, who juggled around the room, putting down all the enemies. As a coward himself, managed to run as quickly as possible, fleeing the room itself to get out of here. Sadly, out of all the things we searched and looked for, we did not find her brother, in which she was so worried about being lost. Ruan has been moved to another location, I suppose. That or finally been slain and removed from the world. But now that we have sorted it out and dealt with it, we have an unfortunate report back to the base. Seeing as the manor is now secured, and unfortunately the Greedus isn't happy to know there's still someone who owns it, with heavy feet we head back to the guardhouse, ensuring that Ozio has the loveliness of being safe. And as it heads back, we hear tales of another problematic place. Somewhere more acquainted for the problem solver there is. But as it stands, we will be moving on to the grand finale of the plague and discovery of the unfortunateness that exists around here. And a doctor we probably didn't need to go, and a cult that of course exists. As with many of the cults that run around this place. Corvosa being like the leading example of why cults are a nuisance. Sadly, we do not earn much more in information or desire. Of course, the Greedus earns himself a new companion by seducing the elf into all trickery of it. Overall, in the end, we made great progress to sell off to this point. Either way, I will call it from here. And as every night I do, I will be on my live stream. I will say goodbye.